A very warm welcome to MNC Cracker YouTube channel. I'm creating this video after consulting with many TCS employees who joined lately from the different locations. So there are 90% chances that these interview questions can also repeat in your interview. So let's get started without wasting any time. So I have this list of questions which were asked in the TCS interview. So we have a different components such as JavaScript, React.js, CSS, Redux, HTML, testing libraries, Git, deployment process. So from all these parts, TCS interview take place. Okay, they will ask questions from these different components in the front end interview. Okay, the first question that they were asked about are closure. So closures are basically functions which are bundled together with its lexical environment. So once they have given the definitions of closure, they were asked if you can please write a code for the closure, and it will be great if you can tell where closure can be used in the real time. So after then they came to the another question, which was hosting. And hosting are just some type of hosting is a phenomena in which some type of variables can be moved to the top of the scope. So they asked, after telling the definition, they were asking, can you tell me how hosting work for different variables such as var, let and const. After this they went to bubbling, like what is bubbling, and also can you tell me how we can prevent that. The next question that they asked, they have given this code snippet. They asked, for example, if we have a for loop which will iterate from 0 to 5, and we will be having a set timeout, how what will be the output of this function. So in this function since set timeout is a asynchronous function, so it will behave differently. So they asked about the output of this question. The next question they asked from debouncing, like what is debouncing. After giving the definitions, many of the employees were asked, like, can you please tell me a real case scenario where debouncing can be helpful. For example, if we are searching something in the text box of Flipkart or Amazon, it is making too many API calls at that time. So to prevent making multiple API calls for each keyword, so we can implement debouncing over there. So the next part he asked from the React.js. So the first question he asked that in which component have you worked, whether it is class component or functional component, basically hooks. So after telling the output, someone told that they have worked on class component and some told that they have worked on the functional component. But the best part, or maybe I can tell you that mostly they were interested in the hooks, which is functional component. So after that, they asked, can you tell me or explain me all the lifecycle methods in the class component. Also, like how can we achieve the functionality of lifecycle in the hooks of React. So the candidates has candidate or tell all those lifecycle methods which are present, and they have given the example for each and every method. So after then they move to the another question, which was basically like, can you please tell me what are the stateful component and what are stateless component. And after that they went to the control component and uncontrolled component. Like control component are those component which can be controlled from the state of the component, and uncontrolled component are those component which we can't control from the state, such as ref. So after giving this answer, they started asking about the questions from the ref, like, can you give a real-time example of ref. So most of the candidates has given the example. For example, we have some form in that we have an input box, and on the click of submit button, if we want to make a focus to specific input button, so we can use the at that scenario we can use ref. And after then they asked about the prop deadening, like, can you please give us a scenario where prop drilling can happen. So I can quickly give you an example. For example, we have three component A, B, and C, and the C component is a child of B component, and the B component is a child of A component. And now A component want to send some properties to the C component, but he cannot send the props directly to the C component. It need to pass the props from B component to C component. Although B component doesn't require those props, but there is no another way. So this is known as prop dealing. We can prevent that with the help of context API. So after then he asked about the context API and asked can you please write the code for the context API. So after finishing the React.js part, they moved to the CSS part. In the CSS part, the first question they asked about the box model. So in the box model, candidates explain like we have padding, margin, height, width. So after then they have given a scenario. For example, we have some width of 200 pixel, padding 2 pixel, and margin 4 pixel. So what will be the overall width? So we need to tell them what will be the overall width over here. The next question they ask basically what is flux in the CSS, and like is it one dimensional or two dimensional? And after then they ask about the grid for the same. And after giving the answer to both the questions, they ask what is the difference between both of them. And there is one another question they have asked, like if you want to reverse the block component, how can we do that? After that they started asking about the pseudo classes and what are pseudo elements. So most of the candidates were asked this question. After completing this, they went to the redux part. Okay, can you please give me a high level architecture flow of redux? So where we need to explain all those, like how an action get dispatch, and it will go to the action creator, and after that action creator uh, will dispatch an action to the reducer, and after in the reducer we will update the state, and that state will go to the store directly, and from the store a UI can read that state. So after then they ask like, can you tell me how we can read the state from the store? And after giving that answer, so they asked like, can you tell me how can we connect our application to the store? So we need to tell like we need to uh, attach our application with the help of provider. So after then the next question they ask, can you please write a code for dispatching an action? So here we need to write a code where we are dispatching any action. After completing the redux, they asked a question from the HTML. In the HTML, they ask what are semantic tags and why we use semantic elements. Like, what is the purpose of using semantic elements? And this is the only question they asked so often from many candidates. So I have put this question only. And after then they went to the testing libraries, like which all library you have used for the React. So we need to tell which all libraries we have used, whether we have used Jest or Engine. The next question they asked what are the test cases were written in your application. So we need to tell like which all functionality we have covered. The next thing they ask for example if we do any event, how can we write the test case for this? After completing the testing library, they asked questions from the Git, like have you worked on Git, and if yes, can you please tell me how can we remove the conflict both from the command line and as well as manually. So in the manually in the Visual Studio we have an option where we can see which all conflicts are there, and we can keep the changes or current changes or the changes that we want to keep. And next question they asked, like can you tell me how can you deploy your application? So or how you are deploying your application. So we need to tell here every process, like how we deploy our application. So these are all the questions that were asked mostly. So best of luck for the interview, and please hit the like button if you like the video and if it is useful to you, and also do not forget to subscribe my channel if you want to clear any MNC interview. And I wish you all the best, and thank you so much for your precious time. Have a nice day.